So something else which is done, a cultural practice relating to marriages, are arranged marriages, and then what we do, which is typically, I just call them I love you marriages. Um, and so in arranged marriage, there's kind of a spectrum. But an arranged marriage on one end is simply the father telling their child, male or female, who they're going to marry, and the child would have no say-so. It's simply the father's decision. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the family of the bride or groom would work together to find another family that was very well suited. And so that would mean, obviously religion, socioeconomics, etc. And they would spend many hours together, dinners together. They might even go on vacations together, and then decide that these two families were very well suited and should merge, if you will, a son and a daughter. And on that end of the spectrum, what we find is that this is involving aunts, uncles, grandparents, parents, etc. But it also involves those individuals. And so if my family tried to pass me off in an arranged marriage, and the potential bride went to her family and said, "I'm not marrying that guy," then in the cultures on that end of the spectrum, then they would take that into account. Where on the first example I gave you, she wouldn't have any say-so at all. Of course, we marry for love, and we often marry young, and because of kind of prohibitions against sex out of marriage, and for all kinds of obvious evolutionary reasons, it's not uncommon for people to rush into marriage at a young age, and then sometimes those marriages don't last. And so when we survey people, we tend to find that I love you marriages tend to be kind of the happiest right up front. We usually call that the honeymoon period. I'm sure you've been part of a conversation at some point in your life where someone was complaining about their partner, and somebody else said, well, I guess the honeymoon's over. On these arranged marriages, on that other end of the spectrum that I shared the last, they tend to report being happiest over time. And so initially in arranged marriages, oftentimes it's a little bit difficult, but they see marriage as an opportunity to grow together, to learn who each other are, and become a family over time. And so it's not just the ceremony, but it's actually an ongoing process. So in polling, we tend to find that arranged marriages, at least in some cultures, that the arranged marriages tend to generate happier families, which is probably counterintuitive for most of us. I certainly wouldn't have wanted my mother or father choosing my bride, and I doubt that many of you would as well.